Hey, everybody, it's Ken McElroy. I'm here with Garrett Sutton, my good friend and fellow Rich Dad advisor. For those of you guys who might know, Garrett is an attorney. He's based in Nevada, and he does a lot of work for us on asset protection. So we get a lot of questions around asset protection and, when people buy their real estate, what they should do with it. And so who better than to bring Garrett on the show and kind of walk you guys through some of the different structures and things. Welcome, Garrett. How are you?
Good to be with you, Ken.
For sure, for sure. So, why don't you give a little bit about your background, just so everybody can kind of get a flavor for what you do? Because I know you do thousands and thousands of LLCs and other things every year.
Yeah, well, I went to Robert Kiyosaki's favorite school, the University of California at Berkeley. He never lets me forget that. And I studied business administration and went across the bay to Hastings College of the Law in San Francisco. And, I practiced corporate law in San Francisco and Washington, D.C. And I just kind of got tired of the big city and I like to ski. So I moved up to Reno back in 1989 before all the other Californians started moving here. And it's just been great. I've raised a family and built a business and became very fortunate to become associated with Robert and you and the rest of the Rich Dad advisors. And it's just been really rewarding to travel around the world preaching financial education. And my part is, as you mentioned, Ken, as you start building up your asset base, you need to protect your assets at the same time. And so we set up corporations and LLCs for people to do that.
Especially now, man, like everybody's super sensitive about everything and quick to judge, quick to sue. And I know it's gotten worse over the years. So let's talk about because to somebody who's not, a legalese, right? They don't understand, like there are lots of different structures. And I get this question, and I'm not even an attorney, what kind of entity should I put my stuff into? So can you talk about the 4 different types of business structures, and why you would use each one?
Well, the one way you don't want to go is to take title to anything in your individual name. All right. If a tenant sues, they have a claim against you as an individual, and they can reach all of your other personal assets besides the equity in the property they're suing over. So we don't want to take title in your individual name. The government provides us with good entities to use. And the number one entity these days, Ken, is the LLC, the limited liability company. But you also have the limited partnership, which has its merit if you want to keep control of things. You also have the S and the C Corp. You're not going to use a corporation to hold real estate. Tax-wise, it's not as favorable. With the LLC and the LP, we have better asset protection. But those are really your 4 choices, with the 5th choice of taking title in your individual name being the worst.
Yeah.
So you're going to use one of the 4.
So I had a friend of mine. I was telling you that I think once that he ran a red light and he had a family in his car and he hit another family, and luckily no one was hurt badly, but some people were hurt. And they the people in his car and the people in the other car sued him, and his insurance policy for his car, obviously blew right through that. And then they started going all to his assets personally. So they started going after his real estate holdings, his assets. And that's when he was like, oh my gosh, like I don't have anything protected, right? That's basically what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely, Ken. I mean, if you get in that car wreck and title to the properties is in your individual name, that's fair game for the victims of that car wreck. So we always recommend that you have an umbrella policy of liability insurance, right? With your home and auto with the same company, you get that extra $1 million of coverage for $400 a year. So you have plenty of insurance money. Then you have all your other assets, your real estate, a brokerage account, even gold and silver in a separate LLC. And the attorneys are going to have a very difficult time getting at those assets if you properly structure everything. So an umbrella policy of insurance, and then LLCs and other protective entities.
That's really good advice. I know a lot of people don't do the umbrella as well. They just get the basic. And I know from personal experience, what happens is if your assets are in an LLC, as an example, Then the attorneys have to actually sue that LLC, and then they have to do what's called, they have to pierce the corporate veil. That's really, really difficult, right?
You don't see it happen that much. It is difficult, especially if you set up in a good, strong state like Nevada or Wyoming. It's very difficult for someone on the outside of tax, someone who's been in a car wreck, it doesn't have anything to do with the real estate, someone suing from the outside to get inside that LLC. If we structure it properly with, for example, a Wyoming LLC as the holding entity, it is really difficult. So you have enough insurance. The attorneys know how to get at the insurance. Having that umbrella policy for $400 a year, they know how to get that. They'll leave you alone with your LLCs.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of times what I've seen them do is they actually see how much insurance you have, and that's what they sue. Actually, they sue to that point because they realize trying to pierce, into those corporations is a massive legal battle because you're going to push back.
Right. And so they know that. And, getting through the corporation to reach the money inside an LLC, it's easier in California and New York. Utah is pretty weak. So we also want to pay attention to what state we're setting up in. Nevada, Wyoming, and Delaware are very strong states for that.
What makes them strong? Because I've heard you talk a lot about this. The choice of state. I know that there's a lot of difference in cost as well on, the annual filing fees and stuff like that. But what makes one state stronger than another?
Well, it's interesting, Ken. In most countries, the corporations and LLCs are governed by the national government, right? And in the United States, after the American Revolution, they didn't like the idea of these corporations having too much control. So they went state by state. And so now we have states competing against each other to be the best state. And that would be Nevada, Wyoming, and Delaware. And those states have said, we have the strongest charging order protection, which is a key asset protection feature. We'll give you the strongest charging order protection, and we'll even extend it to a single member LLC, a one owner LLC. Not every state does that. And so you want to set up in a state that has really strong protection.
And charging order is an actual judgment, right? It's like, let's say you lose, then there's a charging order against that LLC. Is that right?
Yeah. So you get in the car wreck and they get a judgment against you for $1 million. You don't have it, but you have your assets inside a Wyoming LLC. The charging order says, unlike California, you can't barge into this LLC and sell the asset. You have to wait until the LLC makes distributions. And the attorney who's on a contingency fee, he only collects when there's payment. He has to monitor that. It's not a good use of his time. He's better off going for the next insurance policy. So, having these structured properly is a really great deterrent.
Which, by the way, guys, most of these are contingency lawsuits, which means that you can go anywhere you want and say, hey, this happened to me. And that attorney is going to take it on contingency, which means that they only get paid a percentage of the judgment, right?
Right. It's kind of a fair way. I mean, someone who gets in a car wreck and he doesn't have much money can't afford to pay an attorney out of pocket for every hour. So the attorney says, look, I'll take your case and I'll keep 35% of what I collect. And, that's just kind of a fair way to go. But you have contingency fee attorneys out there who, go beyond that and sue on other types of claims and all. So we just need to be aware of the system and use the strategies that the governments in every state give us to protect ourselves. Every state has LLCs. Every state is willing to protect its investors so that they will invest more money and the state can collect more taxes. It's really that simple.
Yeah. So Garrett, how are all these businesses structured, or how are all these business structures taxed differently? Because I know that's one of the things that a lot of the people are concerned about is obviously the tax piece.
Right. And so, Ken, the LLC is the best. You can have the LLC taxed however you want. It can be a disregarded entity, meaning it flows, all the tax obligations flow onto your personal return. You don't even have to file a federal return if it's a single member disregarded entity, which can be husband and wife through their trust. It can be taxed as an S Corp if you want to go that way. It can be taxed as a C Corp. Or if you have multiple partners, it can be taxed as a partnership. So with the LLC, you can get whatever tax structure that you want. The limited partnership is taxed as a partnership. The S corporation is taxed as a flow through. So there's no tax at the corporate level. It flows through like an LLC or a partnership. And then the C Corp is the one that has the double tax. The C Corp will pay tax on its income. Currently, it's 21%. Then distributions flow through to the shareholders and you pay a second tax. So that's the problem with the C Corp for some people. It's a double tax entity.
I find a lot of people, they don't know the difference. And I see these people, they put these assets in these C Corps. I'm like, why are you paying double tax? It's so simple because it's paid, as you said, at the corporation level and then at the individual level, right?
Right. And a lot of people, Ken, as you know, there's a lot of misinformation out on the internet. And you see people who say, have all your real estate ultimately held by a C Corp. That makes no sense to me. That you're just paying way more in taxes than you need to.
Right. And so how does somebody, because it's confusing, Garrett. I mean, even I've gone on the internet. I mean, obviously I use you, but I go on the internet and I'm like, there's like all these people out there trying to, get people to, sign up on all these different things. What are some of the things that they should be looking for?
Well, I think you want to deal with someone who's an attorney, who's reputable. Some of these companies come and go. And if you rely on them and they're not going to stand behind their work, I just wouldn't go that route. I mean, we've been in business for a long time. We take care of our clients, but the people on the internet that are going to give you this information when they're not an attorney or not a CPA, I would be just really cautious of that because I've seen the horror stories, Ken. I mean, people come to us and they have relied on people to set them up. And it's just a mess at what they have gone through and how we have to unwind everything.
I bet. And if you guys want more information, you can go to get Garrett's book on rdapress.com and you can snag it on there. He has the greatest book, Start Your Own Corporation. I see it's over your shoulder there, Garrett. And The Loopholes of Real Estate. Those are two great books. And for $20, you guys can get educated on some of this stuff. It's certainly something that you should be doing if you're getting into this at all. And how do people get a hold of you as well, Garrett?
Well, they can go to corporatedirect.com. And we also offer a free 15-minute consultation with an incorporating specialist to see if we can help them. So feel free to call. It's 800-600-1760. or corporatedirect.com.
Okay, great. So now we're going to hop over to our premium page for some bonus questions and, about why you'd want an LLC tax as an S Corp. If you're not a premium member, go to kenmcelroy.com/premium and sign up. All right, guys, don't forget to go to Garrett's page. Don't forget to go buy his book at rdapress.com if you want more information. Again, thanks for listening.